Good morning, everyone. Ditto on Dan's comment. You don't see this too often where you have, major companies that we might call the generals, so to speak. And maybe Intel isn't the general that it used to be many years ago, but it's a major technical, based stock. And here we have Intel gapping down not only under yesterday's wide range breakout bar on big volume, it's gapping down under a week's worth. Now, I guess it would be more devastating, not guess, it would be more devastating if it was gapping down below the base. So maybe miracle can happen where it begins to repair the damage and hold this area. That's a major gap down. And the futures initially had a negative reaction to it, and now they're up. And this happened the other day. I can remember the stock that gapped down, whatever it was. Well, anyway, Dan will probably remember. But it was similar. And it's like, who cares? Which, markets want to go up, it would seem. And look, and it's been this little choppy consolidation this week. Maybe it's waiting for something else. But one of the scenarios that we've had was the potential for a move above the recent highs. And that might be what we coined as a new bonus, a new high bonus, where that is where the market would reverse back down again in alignment with the weekly downtrend. So we'll see if that scenario plays out, but let's assume that, that these markets continue to move up, and to what degree, we're still looking for the wrong way option traders to step up and buy an overwhelming amount of calls. And that has really been what has, I think, kept this market from, rolling over. And it's really it's reached what I would say the optimal area for a rollover. So today is Friday. We'll see how it plays out where the day ends. Remember, the last two Fridays, the markets have moved up and they've held on to that gain. And as we got near the close, buyers did not run away. Meaning they are confident to hold over the weekend with expectations that this market will move higher. And they haven't been wrong. And so there's this confidence about the ability of this market to move higher, ignoring whatever potential risks there always are lurking out there. And so I guess we'll see if that is the scenario here today to play out in the same way. So let's take a look at where things are. I'll do it a little quickly. I know I got started a little late here. So here's the spiders gapping above this choppy consolidation that happened over the last couple of days. And looking at the daily chart, got a couple of bottoming tail bars there, which tells us that buyers are stepping up and not on big dips. And this was a bearish gap down here. The gap up, and it looked like prices can continue higher, and the gap down. There's the shock. There's the event, the something to start a move lower. What happens? It's like, who cares? And it gaps down from a bar that gapped up into resistance. No, buyers continue to step up here. And so we have some bearish price action that's being negated, which is bullish. And now this leads to potential scenario of pushing up above this high. And the question is, does it just keep pushing higher? Or does it make a peekaboo above that high and roll back down again? So that's, what we will be looking for, assuming that it can move up from here, right? So it's initially started, it's cleared these highs here, and that in of itself is a buy. And look at this hourly bar here, dip back down and right back up again. Bullish, says it's going higher. So that's the bias here, and that it's going to go higher. at least as we start this day. Qs, similar scenario. So looking at this bottoming pattern, right? So the initial gap down within this upward trend, void below, comes down to support. And my exact commentary was on this negative day, right there, where we were looking for these bearish setups. And I said, look, there's no doubt that this is bearish, right? That pattern right there, that 3-bar pattern, no doubt. But it was on an hourly buy setup. So it was like, okay, does this actually fail? And look, there was the next dip, right? The next day. And now on these bearish Intel earnings, it's up. So this market truly, even from last year, has proven to be this Mr. Schizophrenic price action. And admittedly, this doesn't look so schizophrenic as you see this move off of the low. But this is in a downtrend. It's on the edge. I give my 80% measurement. I didn't do that here. But it's on the edge of the daily going into a sideways trend as I measure that, as I call it, as if it retraces from a high to a low 80% or more, I'm going to move the trend to sideways. So we'll see. I mean, in any event, that's from this most recent high to low. But, looking at from where the move started and where prices are right now, it's really in the perfect area to make an M top and roll over. And we'll have to see if that's going to play out over the next several days. There. Q's the same thing. Transports, I guess pretty much the same thing. Deep retracement there. Diamonds, I've been showing some relative strength, and you can see that these bars there, they don't have the dip down here on this day that some of the other markets had. It was more sideways. Yesterday was an inside day, and now it's moving up, which we've got some consolidation here, suggesting that it's going to go higher. Futures, starting to push back up, and shallow pullback. And we're always cautious with these kind of really shallow pullbacks, especially up at resistance like this, where the buyers are aggressively buying on such a shallow pullback after a run up into resistance, just ignoring it. But, you still need those wrong way option traders, I think, to step up. And if this market can stay positive today and possibly take out this high, I think, it's logical that that scenario plays out where this put call ratio pushes up into an extreme here, and we'll see if it closes there. And of course, looking for, that to happen at the end of the day. And it's a positive push up where maybe this was a green bar here, and our moving average to come up into this these upper bands here, and that would give us a sell setup. And as you can see, the breadth here is beginning to make lower highs as the market goes up, telling us that internally it's not as strong as it was here. But again, I think we're going to have to wait to see until next week if we do get the M top type of a pattern. Qs, in the same thing. It's cleared resistance, suggested that it's going to continue to move up here. Dow, right? And in Monday's letter commentary, right? That's what I said. Let's see if the Dow can attack its 200-day moving average, and it looks like it's going to do that. And it's right at this high right now. So it's not going to take much buying to push it up and tag that 200-day. And part of my commentary was a close above that, which is what I believe will get the sentiment to reach an extreme. No, Tony, we don't need breadth to turn down. We've already got an extreme in breadth, and it's diverging from the market moving up. So we've already got that part of a historical extreme. We do not have the sentiment at the historical extreme. And we always need both of them in agreement. One without the other, it's basically nothing, you know? So historically, that's always the need, and why I always say the both of them have to reach there, because one without the other doesn't give us a signal. Bonds down a little bit today, just consolidating, not much there. And in between the extremes, right, more or less, unless the day-to-day reached an extreme, you know, that McClellan and the moving average being, you know, not an extreme, just, you know, I've just tended to ignore it. You know, so it can form some patterns, but generally there's just not information there to act on if they don't agree with each other. Oil holding up pretty well. Gold coming up here today. No idea why, to tell you the truth. From my perspective, other than that, there's just demand for gold here right now. And say anticipation of inflation, what a yield curve that's been tightening all the time here. It's not inverted, but I don't get it. So whatever. And whatever, you know, we'll check things out in the room and such, but we'll see what technology's up here a bit, and semiconductors, no big deal. Like, who cares about Intel, right? It's only the biggest one out there, but who cares? So anyway, all yours, Dan.
All right, good morning. Yeah, I just typed up that MJ Cannabis ETF. I said, did I post it on here? Our Q and Spider. Hold on. Here, I'm not sure if I did that. So there.
Is the trade table updated, Dan, or are you holding off until Robert does some tweaks to it?
You know what? I just looked at it 5 minutes ago, and it's finally up and working. It wasn't yesterday, so the weekly is blank, and I need to fill it in. The monthly advisory letter has been working and is current.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So we have, you know, Spider Q, so you just mentioned, and I mean, you can take a 30-minute stop if you just want to cut your loss, but since we're thinking there's going to be a turn here soon, and it's a credit spread, we'll just deal with rolling it if we have to. Verizon, we're short. Disney, short, and they're gapping up a little bit, but nowhere near what the broader markets are doing, so they're still lagging. MDB, we have a Condor, which is doing fine. Urban Cowboy, we're short. J&J, we have a call spread, and at the dead low, remember Ladam, we covered half, so that was perfect. Costco, we have a call spread, gapping up a little bit, but it's, you know, over the tails. PayPal, we have a half a lot long position. And Whiskey Bravo, we have a covered put. We're short stock, and yesterday morning when I saw the strength, we legged in, we sold a put against it. So that's it on opens. Let's look at some gappers here. We looked at Intel already. DFS, 65 and change. That's a bearish gap, sell set up here. So that's a definite watch as a short, 30-minute low. EFTC, 48 bucks. I mean, you see how easy it is for us to do our gap analysis. Just mark it off on the chart. So it's gapping right to this gap fill. So you got support below, resistance above, sell setup weekly. I don't know what to do with that. 516, this is a bearish gap. So it would be a call spread candidate, but historically, I just know ISRG is very tough to get a good midpoint. It's illiquid. NSC, a railroad, 160. That's a bearish gap and as a price void. I like that. I'm going to put that in a window right here. So that could be a day trade short and or a call candidate. Starbucks, 67 bucks. That's a bullish gap, but there's no great price void. 30-minute high maybe. Western Digital, hey, from Alex, if you're in the house, and trader, remember I said, we talked about when you could go into, you know, if you wanted to take a bet trading ahead of earnings. And I'm like, this beat up thing, bottoming pattern, you know, you could have, we talked about it. So that one worked, but Intel didn't. I also told, well, wait, let me finish this. Wow, see, it's starting to rip right now. 45 bucks. The gap's too excessive. We need a pullback. But Intel, I remember telling Alex, I said the pattern supports if you wanted to hold it over earnings and, you know, take the risk of the gap, that the pattern at least supported it. And that one didn't work. And that's what you have to calculate. As I said, Austin Powers, is that your bag, baby? And it's not ours, but if it's yours, all I can do is tell you if the chart kind of agrees in that direction or not. SYF, no interest in that. DHI. That's a nice reversal. You know, kind of extended right now. But look how it came in, minor support, rising moving averages, gapped up. Today's Friday, so gapped up over Wednesday's high. That could be a day trade. Charlie Lima, under 6, that's a bearish gap. I like that one. Not for a swing, but for a beautiful call spread candidate. We got this big old upside shakeout, and it's gapping under all of this. I'm just going to keep this on our short list. It's on support here, but remember, similar to Tesla, a nasty gap down, and remember Ladon, major support is not a pattern. So if this goes sideways and can't bounce, I mean, this monthly could go to 30 bucks. So there's some downside target there. McKesson, you know, had that big old gap yesterday into no man's land. Could give you a day trade and could be a put spread candidate. These are leftover BMY, that was earnings. LRCX, you know, I said yesterday, these intraday 15-minute time. Look at the strength of this in light of Intel. That is mind-boggling to me. And yeah, Greg mentioned the word generals. In the internet days, we had our list of the 5 generals, and Intel obviously was one of them. Intel, Cisco, we even had General Motors as a general. And I think we had United Airlines for the transports and Microsoft. To my recollection, those were the 5 generals. And if one of those sneezed, the market would pay attention. LVS, if this could chop around for another week or so and break out, the weekly has a price void. Texan, I kept on my list from yesterday. Xilinx could be a 1, 2, 3 if it were to close right here. It's cracking though on the 15-minute chart right now. TME, this was a 10-cent IPO. We need a pullback. ALB, I don't know. We might trade this one up or down. SWK, all right, so the Qs are selling off right now the most. So I immediately look to the FANGs and see if there's a problem child. And, you know, it's Intel. SWKS, did that have earnings? That's a beautiful pattern, though. Let me check earnings. No, February 5. So 30-minute high, particularly with the futures, kind of acting up a little bit. Now look at bottom right here, my Clorox, it filled the gap. So I have no interest in him anymore, or at least he's downgraded to a tier 2. I'm gonna keep an eye on that SWKX with Alex. FN, never heard of FN. Strong. Kind of a crazy, it's not a tradable pattern to me, but the put spread, yeah, because you had this downside shakeout, reverse that. So yeah, that would have been a put spread candidate, sure. Roku, I like as a 1, 2, 3. It's still had, it had a bullish close, but it's still at resistance. I would like it to go sideways more. So here's the Qs coming in. All right, so our stops have not hit on those call spreads anyway. SWKF, whoa. Yeah, I remember talking about this yesterday, reverse heading shoulders. Yep. Yep, I like it. Hey, LaDon. Hey, LaDon, we gotta come up with a name for Fridays of, like freaky Friday option sellings. Come up with something for us. So let me start searching. Qs are the weakest, so let me see if there's any juice in the 165 Qs that expired today. That's 21 cents. It's only 934, so I don't want to, but I like it. The action I'm seeing so far, it negated this pre-market strength. Let's just give it a little more time, but on a 10 lot, that's 210 bucks. Put a stop, maybe a dime over the day's high. And then you just put your order in and then go to the golf course. So that's a watch. Michael Jackson, let me see what our midpoint is now. 65 cents. See, it closed at 90. And so the reason I thought 80 was maybe into the gap fill. But that's a no-brainer. That's a beautiful pattern. A gap breakout. I'm not going to rush into it just because of the futures. All right, so you're buying things. I would be careful on the long side myself. Let me see what we can get for spiders for today. So we could do the 266. $0.38, that ain't bad. The high 265.64. So I always like going kind of 2 cents above the next even dime level. So that would put it at 72 cents. Maybe even give it 82. I just want to give it a few more minutes. The IWM is holding up bullish though. So that's fine. Like, I don't want to rush. Now, SWKS, I would even sell the 70s or 69s for today, if there's anything. Let me look. Or maybe even next week. Further out of the money, of course. 70s for today, 0 by 15. I can't believe there's 0. Next, oh, they're spready. What a jerk. The 69s are 55 by $1. No way. Those things got to settle down. So Tish, I have no idea what you want me to do with that. Sell a naked call for today? If that's what you're thinking, I'd say okay. No. Why? Look how far it is. Look at this run, trader. This looks like a short-term gap and crap. Look, a gap resistance, sell setup weekly? Absolutely not for me. Market, you know, we're looking for a turn. The patterns that I would do put spreads on, you know, have to look like this. Look, it's closer to support and breaking out, right? So this is a nice find. It's showing relative strength. And then cannabis, I'm not rushing into it, but let's see what happens here. That's a little gap breakout. And it seems that cannabis is you know, it's going to act different than the broader markets. It's kind of on its own page. Transports are still strong. Wow. Look at these